Hello there, it's Austin. Today we're going to be brewing and talking about a Pomegranate Blonde Ale. So let's get started. So we'll start this recipe by collecting 4.5-ish gallons of reverse osmosis water and adjusting it with the following contributions of calcium chloride, Epsom salt, and gypsum. It's a pretty even split mass-wise at right around 2.5 grams each, but the calcium chloride's doing a little bit more heavy lifting here, so we can expect the end result to influence the malty perception slightly more than the perceived dryness. The grain bill for this beer is mostly 2-row pale ale malts, but with a little bit of Bohemian Pilsner and Vienna malts, all in the pursuit of adding a little bit of malt complexity and maybe some flavor texture at the end of the day. With everything milled together, our next step is adding it all to the kettle. I'm using a 6.5-gallon Anvil foundry that is set to 150 degrees, and that's the temperature we'll let it sit at for about an hour, stirring every 15 minutes or so to make sure that we're getting as best conversion as we can. The next step is removing the grain basket from the kettle and starting the boil process. Once I start to see the first bubbles appear, that's a sign to go ahead and add my first hop addition. I'm only boiling this beer for 45 minutes, so the first addition will be at the 45-minute mark, just over 7 grams of Magnum. With 2 minutes left in the boil, we'll round out our pretty simple hop schedule with a half an ounce or just over 14 grams of Perle hops. After our boil, it's time to chill the wort down by running cool tap water through our immersion chiller. I do like to use my discarded chiller water to go ahead and fill and sanitize my fermentation vessel. The yeast I'm using for this blonde ale is a reused pitch of Imperial A07 Flagship, and since I just pulled it out of a fermenting beer, I'm not going to build a starter or anything, I'm just going to pitch it directly into my wort. After a quick gravity check to make sure that everything went according to plan during the brew process, it was time to step aside and let the yeast do its thing. I'm fermenting this beer for about 10 days, the first 7 days at 68 degrees, and then the final couple days at 70 degrees using a heating wrap because it's cold in my house, and also outside my house. But after the 10 days are up, it's time to transfer the beer from my fermenter into a keg and add the pomegranate juice. To do this, I just attached a carbonation cap on top of the bottle and then squeezed it into the keg, so nice, easy, oxygen-free transfer. After connecting this keg to my CO2 tank at serving pressure, or right around 14 psi, I let it sit for a couple weeks, pulling samples every now and then to kind of observe how the clarity changed. After 4 or 5 weeks, it seemed to be about as clear as it was going to get, so time to pour a pint and review our 4.7% Pomegranate Blonde Ale. In the summer, when it's really hot outside, I find myself craving light, crushable beers, sometimes with a little bit of fruit. And in the winter, when it's really cold outside, I still find myself craving light, crushable beers with a little bit of fruit. But definitely in a more longing way, and kind of to trick myself into thinking that I'm enjoying the weather. And in that way, this beer really hits the spot. The first thing that really surprised me about this beer is, where did all the color from the pomegranate juice go? I feel like it stained my fingers more than it influenced the color of the beer itself. But despite a lack of red or pink hue that might have been kind of nice and on theme for Valentine's Day, the pomegranate flavor is definitely there, and it's contributing a nice fruity sweetness to the malty backbone of the beer, as well as the active character of the yeast. To complement the pomegranate flavors, on the hop side, I think the Perle hops are giving kind of a green fruit, maybe almost a touch of green tea as well. Now that I'm voicing it, I feel like this definitely tastes like a pomegranate green tea that I've had before. Hold on. Alright, so I found it. It's definitely reminiscent of this pomegranate white tea that I actually have in my cabinet right now. If I was really prepared, I would have brewed it to drink alongside, but it kind of looks like I'm prepared for having it in the first place, so that's a win. But overall, I'm super pleased with the slightly subtle but active pomegranate flavor that I'm getting out of this beer. And even though it's not pink, it's still a solid, easy drinking ale that I'm really enjoying having on tap right now. Cheers! Okay, so I'm back. I brewed it in post-production. Can confirm they taste the same, so cheers again.